All right, all right, all right. Good evening, and we're gonna jump straight into class. It was an interesting time as we shared last class around the psychology of communication, how people, our audience, receives information, how we ought to communicate in order for them to assimilate, right? In order for them to be able to take in what we say and then be able to use that information to chart a course forward, whether it's for change, for improvement, for whatever it is that we are dealing with. Now, as we are driving towards the end of our course, tonight I want to share something very, very important. And I want to quickly recap what are the things that we've chatted about coming to this point. We've spoken about your vocal foundations, your frameworks, presence, all these things. I mean, last class was psychology of communication, and everything that we've shared so far, storytelling and so forth. All these things are important, but the bedrock of any communicator, any public speaker, any presenter is words. And so today, I want to labor in this class to speak about words. And if I had a choice as a coach and as a communication and public speaking trainer, if I had a choice on the one subject I'd like to spend time and consistently talk about, it would be the power of words. When, as a communicator, you understand the power of words, you are able to be intentional every single time you have the opportunity to share and to communicate. You are able to be intentional and thereby are able to instruct, you're able to channel, to direct, and to conjure the kind of response from your audience that you're looking for. So every public speaker, every communicator must have a respect for words. You must of necessity love, appreciate, and respect words. It must be something that is, here's what I mean. Words are the bedrock. They are the vehicle with which you are able to communicate your innermost thoughts, feelings, and translate them into the audience and the people that are listening to you. So your choice of words, your understanding and appreciation of words must be a fundamental, if not the fundamental reality as a communicator. And so tonight we're going to talk about words and how that you have to understand the baseline aspects of words, how to engage with them, and to ensure that you become powerful with your words. The first thing we're going to chat about is that nothing affects your public speaking so powerfully as your choice of words. Nothing. You can appear and present yourself effectively. You can do everything we've spoken about when it comes to developing the skills as a communicator. But if you do not know how to structure and put your words together, if you do not know what words to use, everything falls apart, everything. And so tonight, let's talk about words. Words are the speaker's weapon. They are your safety, your structure, your power. And those who learn how to wield them, become indomitable, unstoppable. I like to watch movies. I'm a huge movie buff. But one of the things that drives the movies that I watch particularly is the dialogue, because you get to see just how powerful words can be. You watch movies, action movies, where there's one particular that's called Inside Man, where you see how a hostage negotiator, people are robbing a bank and they decide to take hostages. And you get they bring in an expert, a hostage negotiator, someone who is powerful with their words, to communicate to these people to release innocent bystanders. And then you begin to observe how this person uses words to begin to sway ideas, to sway notions and thinking, to drive their audience to the right kind of conclusion. Words are the vehicles that carried young men to war. Words have convinced young ladies to abandon their families because of the promise of love. Words have driven through conviction so deep people's hearts to the point where they gladly laid down their lives. Can you imagine that? Where you can convince people to die for a cause just because of words. Words cause wars. Words stop them. Words build walls and words collapse them. Words break hearts and words can heal them. They can mend them. Words change lives. And as a public speaker and as a communicator, you must embrace the power of words. You must be the kind of person who appreciates just how powerful, just how, what capacity, what potency words carry. So a communicator must not be careless with their words. A communicator must be intentional. Every opportunity given, there is an intentionality that you must engage with because you know and understand the influence you have because you wield the most powerful material known to man, and that is words. My goodness, whenever I think about talking about words like this, I'm so tempted to lean towards what scripture particularly has outlined around words, because some of the most beautiful statements when it comes to words are found in scripture. But let's keep it here for now, and let's talk about how there are 5 elements around how you deal with words that are actually very, very key and that help you navigate your words effectively. The first element is that words create identity. Words create identity. That means you and I, first and foremost, must interrogate what are the internal conversations that we have. What do you say to yourself? What do you say to yourself? What are the internal conversations you're called on to speak? What are the things that you are saying to yourself? Oh my goodness, I hope I don't mess this up. Oh my goodness, I don't think I'm ready. Can I ever? I mean, you're watching a presentation by somebody. You're watching Jito, as I was watching earlier on, and he's making a presentation on an amazing stage. And you're thinking to yourself, will I ever get to the point where I can do that? What are the internal conversations that you have? Will I ever? Or it's just a matter of time until I too am being called upon to ascend such powerful podiums. What internal conversations do you have? Are you validating your journey in public speaking? When people ask you, Mike, so this public speaking that you're doing, what is your agenda? I'm just trying to get myself better. No. Choose the right words that frame the identity that you are creating. Because remember, as we're speaking about the psychology of communication, your mind doesn't know what is a joke, what is negative, what is positive. So what you consistently say, you begin to believe, and what you believe, you become. And so when you hear Coach Mike saying, I'm looking forward to the day when I'll be considered among the best public speakers, not in Zambia, not in Southern Africa, but in the world. Is that possible? Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. And it's possible for me, and I believe it, and I say it to myself. I consider myself a communicator par excellence. I say it to myself. And as I grow and groom and learn to do this thing better, my target is for the fact that the words that I communicate to frame people's identity. I have the opportunity from time to time to speak with young men who are dealing with substance abuse. What weapon do I have to engage with? I believe in words so much that when I sit down, there is such a consciousness within me that as I'm sharing and speaking with these young men, the words I speak, they can cause change and bring about a shift in their mentality, in their behavior, in the things that they do. So it begins with your internal conversation. Coach Mike, I'm just so shy. There's nothing wrong with that. Being shy is not actually a negative thing. Believe it or not, I used to be considered someone who was shy. But what you must realize is that shy is a behavior that you have learned. No baby is born shy. But you have learned in certain conversations, sometimes it is your parents who say, oh, look at her, she's so shy. And you embrace that identity. You can also embrace in your shyness, your capacity to be a powerful communicator. Yeah, you can. And it starts with those internal conversations. What are the words you say to and about yourself? If you remember, when we speak about self-discovery, we say, first and foremost, you discover. That means you dig, right? You look for what is beautiful and brilliant about you. The second thing is that you describe yourself. You describe yourself. Those are the words that you begin to frame around yourself. That is your gift to yourself. I say when you describe yourself, it is your gift to yourself. What are the words that you say to yourself, to the mirror about you? What are the things that you say around your communication journey? Because those of you who are in this class particularly, I am confident about the fact that just as we go towards graduation, as we continue to engage over the platforms that are available, I can tell you that my confidence is secure in the fact that by the end of this year, when you are handed a mic, you will deliver. Are you able to say that to yourself? That the investment you are making is not wasted. You are framing and you're beginning a trajectory towards being powerful with your words. As I listen to the videos, as they're coming in, looking at some of the things that obviously we're going to continue to work on, I can't help but be excited to see people who are so invested in their progress that they are willing to put time and effort into how powerful they can become with words. The first element is that internal conversation. What do you say to yourself? That is the most powerful and important. Because when you're standing behind that major stage and you're about to walk out and tell thousands that you deserve to be president, you deserve to be elected, you deserve to be voted for, the words you should be telling yourself is that this is where I belong. This is who I am. This is what I was born to do. It can't be that you are saying behind this huge, magnificent podium, oh my goodness, I hope I say things right. I hope people are able to no. What are the words that constitute your internal conversation? This is where we begin to win, even against nervousness. Your nerves, they are words you can speak to yourself to calm yourself down. I was born to do this. I was born to do this. I was born to do this. That's what I say to myself every time I have the opportunity to be called upon. I was born to do this. I was born to do this. It's who I am. And so I'm not pretending. I'm not faking anything. I was born to do this. I was born to do this. First and foremost, your internal conversation. What do you say to yourself? Do you have conversations with the mirror? Are you able to be so confident around what you say? In scripture, Jesus said, the words that I speak to you, they are spirit and they are life. Can you walk on stage and say, the words I'm about to say to you will change your life? If you could pay attention and you can do what it is that they instruct, your life will never be the same. And if you can say that with conviction, it will settle with conviction. What you believe, your audience will believe. If you believe that you don't belong there, your words will not settle because you're an imposter. So everything, your power as a communicator begins with your internal conversation, because words are the vehicle with which you communicate. So your internal conversation, what you say, you believe, and what you believe, you are. All right? So first and foremost, what are the things that you say to yourself? What are the things that you communicate? What are the things you say to your mirror? Even on the inside, What are the conversations that you have? And you have to interrogate them very seriously. I wanted to continue, but let me stay here a little bit more. You have to interrogate that internal conversation very seriously, very seriously. Find out what are the limiting beliefs that you carry. Do you find yourself listening to people and be like, yeah, that, that belongs to, those people who've been successful, who have reached that level of success? I have found myself in that space where you're looking to do a project and you're struggling to price because you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, I'm not yet at the level of the people who price at this point. I'm not yet at the level of the people who can demand such kind of respect. And because of that, sometimes we've lost the business because you undercoach so much that even the company is like, these guys must not know what they're doing. Can you imagine that? Losing an opportunity just because you failed to win an internal conversation. You couldn't justify the fact that you deserved to be met at that level. And so this is the conversation. You must interrogate your limiting beliefs. What are the things that the conversations that you have? Oh my goodness, I wish I was like that. I wish I could talk like Coach Mike. I wish. No. If you remain at the level of wishing, you are having the wrong conversation. You are already in a room where you are working on your capacity. And so you say, as I continue to work, as I continue to invest in my communication journey, Coach Mike is not even the ceiling. Coach Mike is nowhere near the level that I'm going to reach. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. That is your conversation. And that will help you walk into rooms with the presence we were talking about. So words. What are the words that constitute your internal conversation? Number one. Number two, words frame reality. Words frame reality. So after you've done this conversation on the inside, the second thing is you begin to talk into what you want to see. Words frame reality. And so when you understand how powerful words can be, as you stand in front of people, as you are raising children, and as you're speaking to the people you have influence over, you speak carefully because words frame reality. So, for instance, there are people who believe that here in Zambia, it's hard to be a millionaire in dollars. The reason is because they've heard people say, doing business in Zambia is so difficult. It's hard to establish. It's easier for people who come from outside the country to make money in Zambia. And because of those words, they have framed a certain reality for certain individuals. So much so that I'll tell you that even in conversations with me, people will tell you, Coach Mike, are people willing to pay for public speaking training, communication training? Not in Zambia. And yet here we are. I'm in a room where people are ready to invest in their communication, not just talk about it, but actually pay their hard-earned money, because words have framed your reality. You have listened and you have heard and you have believed that if you work on this, the most important skill in life, you can make your life beautiful. You can empower your career, your relationships, your experiences, just because you can speak and speak effectively. So words frame reality. And so we must be careful to note how we speak around our audiences, around the people that have given us an opportunity to share. They expose your reality, which means they expose your perception, how you see life, but also they frame. So if a challenge is posed, Coach Mike, do you think that you can earn 300,000 a month in Zambia? And then Coach Mike is like, come on, guys, 300,000 in a month. That's crazy. And yet you can walk to the Bank of Zambia's governor's son and say, is it possible that, yeah, my dad has been earning that amount of money for the past 10 years without batting an eyelid. So because of my frame of reference, because of the words I have believed, my reality has been framed and capped at that reality. You can define limitations for yourself by how you engage with words and believe words. Remember, you say something consistently, You believe it, and as you believe it, it becomes real. I'll share with you something that is very interesting about particularly my wife. My wife's experience when it comes to jobs has been very, very interesting. My wife does not entertain conversations around the fact that there are no jobs in Zambia. It has never been a conversation that she entertains or contributes to. And because she thinks and her conversation is around opportunities, my wife has never struggled to find a job. Now you'll be like, Coach Mike, with this unemployment statistics and all that, listen, words frame reality. So if your conversations are around the fact that there's unemployment, we're struggling to get jobs, believe me, that will be your reality. But if you sit around people who are saying, you know what, I'm just structuring for the next level of my career. I'm looking for what the market is looking for, and so I can position myself effectively. There's so many opportunities in Zambia. Believe me, your world, your thinking, your ideas will wake up to the cracks available, and you'll be able to do so much in spaces where people are struggling. There are people who are changing jobs in the same country that other people are crying about unemployment. Words frame reality. Words frame reality. So you must then begin to choose how you speak about yourself, about your presentation. First and foremost, we've spoken about the internal conversations. Then now you begin to speak about where you're taking yourself as a speaker. Stagefront is being curated towards being a platform that not only builds and empowers speakers, but also houses speakers so that if an organization is looking for speakers in the area of mental health, they can come to our library at Stagefront and be able to pick, oh, I'd like to get Namatama to be able to share about this. That is the strength of what we are building, where people across the continent, across the world are looking for expertise in specific areas. Our platform can be a standard where people are able to find the speakers they are looking for, whether it is in business, it is in relationships, mental health, communications, all that. This is what Stagefront is being geared up to be. And so I speak about it. I can't wait for the time. I feed the reality by talking to it and about it. Words frame reality. In fact, I actually even give deadlines. And so, like I said, we have a conference that's coming up on the 18th of July. We have a conference that we're structuring for the, I think, not the 3rd, around 10th of not August, but October. And I tell you, well, if we share the details, there are such lofty aspirations. But we have believed this thing. We've talked about it and we believe it. And that is framing our reality. Framing our reality. All right? And so even this cohort that you are seeing, it was something that would have not happened if we continued to listen and to engage certain conversations. Words frame reality. And so as a speaker, as you stand in front of people, you must know what reality you are bringing to your audience. And you must have an agenda for how you bring it out effectively. For instance, mental health is real. I'm one of the people who it took a very, very long time to convince about mental health. I'll tell you now. Because with my work with young men, we have always been looking at the past, at how in Sakas here in Zambia, men were always groomed and raised by men. And so when we do and expose that, you realize that much of the things that are happening as a consequence around men, particularly, you know, the statistics say men are the highest suicide rates, and they are the ones you find patronizing bars, shebeens, and all that. The reason is because we have traveled away from what men are. We say at the organization, we say boys, rather males are born, boys are raised, but men are made. And so when we understand what spaces to put men into, we're able to combat mental health. Because when a man knows who he is and what he ought to do, those things are easy to negate, right? And so because of that, as people spoke about mental health, it was not landing the way it needed to. But I was able to be brought to light about it. And so, if I'm going to then speak about framing reality, talking to people who don't understand mental health, you must know how to frame that reality, build it from a place that they're able to track with you. You know, like you share, years ago, men spent time with men and they were told what it was to be a man, what it took to stand up as a man in society. And because as westernization creeped in, we traveled away from those things. Men found themselves in spaces where they didn't understand who they were. And with the advent of some of these things like women empowerment, as women have gone back into the workforce, men have not been groomed to understand and to deal with this new type of woman and reality. And so they find themselves not being able to process well, finding themselves leaning towards substance abuse. And that has brought us to the place where mental health has really become a struggle for men. Even somebody who doesn't track with the idea of mental health will be able to follow along in that conversation, framing reality with your words, right? That's the second thing. So internal conversations, understanding that that's the ground, that's the fertile ground from which you go forth and communicate effectively. Secondly, understanding that words frame reality, right? And when you know this power, you understand how to speak things that be not as though they were, right? Speak things that be not as though, because you are creating that reality. The third thing, words breed clarity. I shared an example of the fact that I love movies. And in the movies I like, dialogue is everything for me. Dialogue is everything. I listen to the conversations and they do it for me. Any movie that's where the beauty is for me, right? And you find, like I painted the picture before, of a hostage situation where a negotiator is speaking and the guy who's holding the hostage captive is so agitated and ready to kill. And with words, this negotiator is able to communicate clarity. Say, look, you don't have to do this. You don't have to take that life. You can get what you want without having to resort to these measures. How can we help you? And, you know, as they do that, they're able to de-escalate the situation by bringing clarity to the situation. Someone tells them, look, you have only a few options available to you because right now, what is going on is that if you kill somebody, here's what's going to happen. You haven't stolen anything yet. You haven't killed anybody. And so really, we as the police have got nothing to hold you on. Very little. So if you escalate by doing what it is that you're threatening to do, the situation becomes more dire. That means that even me as a negotiator, I lose my capacity, and all these other frameworks have to take in. Now people will rush in, you'll be arrested, not only for attempted, but now you understand. And so as these words are communicated in this situation, clarity begins to take shape. You are in an argument. And because you are a communicator, you realize, hey, let me de-escalate this because it seems there's a misunderstanding. Clarity. So words breed clarity. And with clarity, you are able to chart a course forward from any situation. Clarity. A young man seeking to marry comes to a young lady and tells her exactly what he is about, where he's going with his life, and what he's hoping to achieve. Clarity. If you can do that effectively, the young lady will be able to identify whether she can find herself in the picture you have painted or not. Clarity. And when clarity is determined and communicated effectively, like that in the relationship scenario, no surprises come up down the line because there was clarity. And so she knows whether she's the one who's equipped to walk this journey with you as she shares her ideas around what she wants to achieve and the things that she's pursuing with her life. And she's able to also tell that, oh my goodness, I mean, I might like you, but I don't think we are pulling in the same direction. Clarity. That can avoid so much heartbreak, so many disappointments, because clarity was established with words. How powerful you can become when you realize and appreciate the power of words. That's why I said in the beginning, I'm trying to fight the unction and the push to begin to lean heavily towards what scripture says, but allow me from time to time to throw them in, because scripture will say once again, words kill and words give life. Words kill and words give life. Can you imagine? That's how powerful a communicator can be. You can kill an idea and you can breathe life to even the most detrimental, the most weak and powerless idea with words. Clarity. And if you're going to stand, for instance, to pitch for funding, I just recently saw that women in tech have just been receiving $10,000 each. Those who won, I think there were 5 of them who were groomed through an incubator program, $10,000 each towards their businesses. How? Clarity. When they were given the opportunity, they were able to identify a problem and clearly state why their solution was the best response to that problem. And $10,000, I mean, that's not a loan, it is a grant given, $10,000. Just because with your words you were able to clearly state the issue and clearly show how you have presented a solution to that problem. That's very, very interesting. So clarity, words breed clarity. First, your internal conversation, words create identity. Secondly, words frame reality. The third thing is that words breed clarity. The fourth thing is words foster connection. Words foster connection. If you think back to your best friend, think back to your relationship with the person that you're with today, whether you've got a companion, a significant other, whatever the case may be, all that you see is that it is all rooted in words. Maybe your best friend walked up to you and said, "Hey, I really like your hair." And that in itself made you feel some type of way, that as a result, you've been friends since you were in grade 2. Words can foster connection. Words can foster connection. If you're able, excuse me, if you're able to establish and believe, understand, appreciate words like this, you'll be able to walk up to strangers like I do all the time. I like to stretch myself, and this is where your communication journey grows. I like to stretch myself. I'll walk up to strangers, especially if I identify something that is interesting about them, and engage for the sake of connection. If I like a car, for instance, I'll walk up to someone and say, "Hi, how are you doing? I really like your car." And if you have a moment of time, I'd really like to know, maybe you can give me a piece of advice around how a young person like myself could find themselves driving a car like yours. Now, if someone approached you and said that to you, wouldn't that make you feel nice enough to say, "Okay, yeah, I mean, I can spare 2 minutes and tell you, hey, work hard and whatnot." And then you say, "Look, I know 2 minutes is not enough. If you have the time, could I have your contact and maybe even take you for coffee and just pick your brain and maybe learn a thing or two from you?" Oh boy, if someone told me that, I'll be like, "Yeah, sure. I'm ready. Tell me, here's the number. Let's meet up and let's have a chat when I'm free." I'd very much like to talk to someone who's interested in pursuing their growth in life. Yes, it doesn't go like that all the time. But when it doesn't go the way I want, I learn that maybe my words did not communicate what I was hoping to communicate effectively. And so I tweak the words. Not every word will appeal to everybody, but you learn what words you can use generically to identify and to establish what you're trying to achieve. We grow like this. That's how we grow. But you must know, and when you understand and have engaged with an appreciation of these things, it shows. When you speak to somebody with a certain conviction, it causes reaction. If you believe the words you say, your audience is likely to believe them as well. Yeah. If you believe the words you say, your audience is likely to believe them as well. And that's how we can foster connection. And so all these things, like we spoke about, whether it's storytelling, you're telling a story and there's no conviction, appreciation for the words you're saying to us, that story will not land the way you want it to land. But someone can come and share a couple of words. So for instance, let me make a statement here. And let me say something like, I'm talking to an audience and I want them to change. I want them to make a change. And then I say to them, you have to change. You have to change. I'm speaking to you now and you have to take heed to what I'm talking about. That's the one way of saying it. The second way is, I say change is an opportunity. And you and I have the rare privilege of actually engaging with change. You and I have the power. You and I have the gumption. We have the tools necessary to change. And what I'm saying today to you is that let's take up that chance. Let's walk through that door of opportunity and actually change our lives. So on one hand, I'm saying we have to change. On the other, I'm saying change is an opportunity. How that choice of words frames how somebody responds to that. If you say I have to change, I can easily say, okay, who is this guy who is commanding me to do something? And my mind can begin to filter towards, I have to change, I have to change. I'm putting people under pressure and people don't respond well to pressure. Or you can say, this is an opportunity. You have the power. You have the opportunity. You have the door that you can walk through and your life will never be the same again. This empowers the individual who's listening. And so as they hear those words, there is a certain level of feed. There's an empowerment. There is an inspiration towards movement rather than pressure. Right? And so how you use your words will determine how well you can connect with your audience. Words foster connection. The fifth thing, it's not the last thing, but we want to end on the fifth thing here, that words direct action. Words direct action. In the Bible, the scripture that speaks about the tongue says, the tongue is the smallest element, is one of the smallest elements in the body, but it boasts tremendous power. It talks about the fact that it is like the rudder in a ship. A rudder in a ship is like the steering wheel. It's small. It's not as big. The ship could be massive, but the rudder will always be small. And it can determine the direction of the ship. You, with your words, can determine action. Every war, including the war that we are observing in Iran now, was started by words. And you can see that specific actions are being determined by words. Donald Trump will go on Twitter and write words, not even speak them, communicate them on Twitter, and it will affect and infect, or rather direct action. Things will happen just because of a post on Twitter. That's how powerful words can be. They can direct action. People have committed suicide because of words. People have been able to pick up their lives, see somebody who used to spend every day at the door of a brothel, at the door of a shebeen, drinking the worst of the worst because of words. They're able to gather their life together and begin to do something substantial with their life. Words. And so when you understand and you're able to leverage words and the power of words, you are unstoppable. You become undomitable. Whether someone comes at you agitated, you can de-escalate someone. You can be able to talk someone out of shooting you because of words. You can be able to engage with individuals to calm a situation because of words. You can change lives because of words. And tonight, this is what I'm trying to speak to you about. That as a communicator, you must understand the responsibility that you have and appreciate the power of words. Every communicator then must become intentional about how you use this powerful tool. Your words are your power. Your words are your arsenal. They are your weapons. They are your shield. They are your protection. And like I said, I watch interesting things because of the fact that I follow dialogue. One of the things that I'm binge watching now is a series called The Mentalist. And this particular individual is an exceptional communicator in the sense that he observes for cues. As people are talking, he can tell they are lying. He can tell that they're trying to evade. And with one word, he can agitate, and someone is able to expose themselves or be able to tell that this person is innocent or whatever the case may be. That is how you must begin to approach your life as a communicator. Your words must be intentional. You are not supposed to be careless with words anymore. You must observe to say the things that build, observe to say things that establish, that help, that aid, that grow. Starting first and foremost with yourself, that conversation that you have when nobody's around. From that conversation, you can be able to spread your wings across every platform you find yourself in. I am absolutely excited for you because when you know this, you can't be stopped. You can't be stopped. I joke about it and I say it all the time to say, I feel sorry for anybody who can call me for an interview. I always look forward for that. If I'm trying to land an opportunity, all I hope for is that chance to be able to walk into the room and to speak. Why? Because I know what words can do. I know what the training we're engaging with and have engaged with can do to set you apart and establish you as an individual who's laid eggs in the minds of the people you're talking to, so much so that they cannot help themselves. You can be powerful. You can be powerful. The choice is yours. And it begins first by understanding the word that you wield. If you do not know the power of what you carry, you cannot take advantage of it. And also, you can be a victim of it. Many people are victims of their internal conversations, how they discredit themselves. As you are talking and you're having conversation like, I heard that there is an opening for the assistant director's position. And you are the first ones to say, I don't know, hey, like you need connections to be there. And because of that, that will be your reality. But you can decide to say, you know what? I've been working on myself. I'm going to try. And I know that even if I don't get it, I would have learned something, but I know that I can be able to function at that level. I'm grooming myself for that space. And so, yeah, I'm going to swing for it. The fact that you believe that you belong in a place like that determines your reality. Some of you need to begin to engage and entertain the fact that you can operate in territories outside Zambia. Just because you're studying at Zambia University doesn't mean the world is not open to you. Entertain those thoughts. Entertain the fact that you can sit and a scholarship can be given for you to go and study in Japan, in Cyprus, in America. Yes, the same America where people are being refused visas. You can go in. And people are going into America, by the way, even in Trump's government. Why? Because some people don't see that as a blockade. They're not trying to go there as immigrants. You want to go there as a specialist. Yeah. You can see and speak to yourself like that. You can establish that reality with your words. When you know that first and foremost, words create identity. Words frame reality. Words frame reality. Words breed clarity. The fourth thing, words foster connection. And words trigger and direct action. So as a communicator, No matter what all these things we've spoken about, you have put in place, you must have an appreciation for words. Oh, you must have an appreciation for words. The Bible says something interesting about a word in season, right? A word in season. Speaking about that, if someone is going through a rough time, someone is going through a painful situation, the right words can fall like dew and calm the raging on the inside. The right words can feel like a warm blanket covering and comforting somebody when they are going through a trying season. And imagine if you are the kind of person who knows what words to use and when to use them. A word in season, a word at the very moment it's needed, knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and to whom. That is what will make you a powerful communicator. Undeniable, inevitable, unavoidable. You can get to the point where anytime they're looking for somebody, oh goodness, I'm telling you, anytime they're looking for somebody to handle high profile conversations, they look for you. And that is Coach Mike. You'll soon see me being called upon to interview people at high level conversations. Why is that? Because I consider myself a high level communicator. Don't be shocked if you find that I am moderating a conversation between the president and the youth of the country. Don't be shocked when you hear that Coach Mike is speaking somewhere in Dubai, in the Netherlands, in Switzerland, in Australia. You can't be shocked because the internal conversations, the conversations you and I can have like this, are the fact that communication is the most powerful tool and it can open any door, any door, any door. So the world becomes your oyster when you understand and value the power of words and you choose your words very, very carefully. The last statement I'm going to make tonight is this. Well, it's not the last statement, but here's an important statement. The Bible says like this. It says, by your words, you will be justified, and by your words, you will be condemned. Meaning, the words you choose will determine whether your audience accepts you or your audience rejects you. By your words, you will be justified, and by your words, you will be condemned. Never forget that as a communicator. By your words, you will be justified. That means accepted, given room, given opportunity. And by your words, you will be condemned. That means doors will close just because of your choice of words. Doors will be shut. You will be rejected just because of your choice of words. And so a unique appreciation of words will set you apart. It is what will cause you to read, because you know that the more you have in the bank of words, the more powerful you become, the more formidable, indomitable. That means people cannot dominate you. You'll find yourself discussing difficult matters. If you read the story of Daniel, scripture records that he would explain hard sentences, difficult things. When it was time to talk through them, Daniel was your man. Oh boy, that is my prayer and my pursuit, that when it's difficult conversations to be had, Coach Mike will be your man. When it's high-level conversations that are framing dialogues at the national level, at the global level, at the regional level, Coach Mike. At the time, obviously, they won't be calling me Coach Mike. It'll be just Michael. Michael Passy. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome onto the podium an orator, a communicator, a brilliant mind, Michael Passy, and we'll be clapping. Yeah. Yes. Why? Words. 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 Take with you your words. Wherever you go, take with you your words. Be skilled, equipped to communicate, to talk. For the first thing, right? Your internal conversations. The second thing, you are framing reality. The third thing is that you are breeding clarity. The fourth thing is that you are connecting with your words. And the fifth thing is that you're driving action. All right. So if you see me driving a big Mercedes or a big van, it is because I've been exploring and connecting with individuals who can place me in those spaces. How? Just by reaching out, because you know what words can do. Someone might be going through such a bad day and you walking up and saying, hey, hi. I'm so inspired by the fact that you look like a young person and yet you're driving such a beautiful car. I just wanted to say that keep doing what you're doing. We're happy. Some of us are glad to see that it's possible at a young age to be driving such a big machine. And someone will be like, if only you knew this guy is for loans and what and what and what. But your words would have fallen like dew. And a relationship can be established around how you can navigate your world forward. So when you know how powerful words can be, you can reach out for connection, you can reach out for direction, for communication, for framing reality, for clarity, and for identity. All right. So, like I said, I'm so passionate about this particular topic when it comes to speaking about words. If I had a topic to choose that I could speak about for the rest of my life, it would be this: words. Because indeed, I believe that words can frame and change any life. So, having said that, we go back into class. Thank you so much for logging on and participating. I have seen some of your comments. Thank you. I saw you, Molly. I saw you, Lady Namatama. Please, once again, let's get our assignments in. And tomorrow or Saturday, we'll now post the details around graduation, what you need to do to prepare yourself, and making sure that we have those arrangements put in place to make it an exceptional event, celebrating you and this journey that you have begun and how powerful you have already become because of what you know. And we'll see you putting those things to practice as you come to share with us at your graduation and as we bring you to the next level of your communication journey. So awesome. Thank you so much for logging in tonight. And assignment 2 for some of you is still very much due. Assignment 3, it will be posted as well, is just a video, 3-minute video of you telling us a story. With what you learned in the storytelling class, tell us a story, compelling story. And so you'll have that particular assignment posted as well. See you. Shalom. Have a wonderful evening and continue appreciating and being conversant, understanding the power of words. See you in the next class.